All right, Naomi. So nice to see you here, and welcome to this place. This place belongs to a friend of ours, Shubham, Cafe Anecdote, and we really love the setting here.
Absolutely.
So we are here to talk about the psychology of sex,
Right.
right? And we want to look at whether sex is a mood killer after parenting, not just for the sex life of parents, but we also want to address how children and their attitudes about sex, about intimacy, are really changed or really dependent on how their parents portray it to them.
Correct.
So, without further ado, I just want to say that thank you so much for joining us here. And this is Naomi Bhatia. She's a master's in clinical psychology, and today she'll be answering our questions about the psychology of sex. So, what guidance do you think? What guidance can we as parents? Because I'm a parent to a 7-year-old, so this question is also very personal to me.
Right.
So, what guidance do you think we can really give to our children as they're growing up about, intimacy and about beginning of, understanding their body? So,
Right.
if you could just elaborate.
Okay, so I will start off with a slightly theoretical version of this answer. We have a theory called the hierarchy of needs, which is by Abraham Maslow, which talks about the fact that we all have needs. So let me just start off with explaining to you the theoretical model behind what we follow as psychologists. It's called the hierarchy of needs by Abraham Maslow. So what Maslow's needs talks about is that we as humans, as individuals, have some basic needs that we must attain as we are growing up or in our day-to-day functioning.
Right.
So it starts with very basic needs, which are the physiological needs, that is food, that is thirst, that is need for shelter, and it also includes sex. Then we have safety and security needs, which is the fact that we have a roof under us, we have clothes, we have everything that makes us secure about ourselves. It is followed by our needs for love and belongingness, which is the part where we seek companionship, we seek relations, we want people to know us, people to like us. It is followed by self-esteem, self-confidence, our need to achieve something, our need to be identified in the society, because that helps us to be who we are. And the last one is the topmost part of it is called the self-actualization, which is quite difficult to achieve because it is the part where you are so fulfilled in yourself, you feel that you have achieved everything, and it's something not very feasible because the great Gautam Buddha, or it is that level of actualization that we look forward to, which is a slight difficult thing. Coming back to the topic of sex, we can explain children or individuals, even parents for that matter, that sex comes right at the basic need. It is as basic as sleep or as basic as food. The only issue is that it comes a bit later in our life. We are not born with sexual urges right the moment we are, or even when we are 2 or 4 or 6. It starts to form a little later when our personalities are forming, when we are reaching adolescence. So therefore it is not given that much importance. Secondly, there is a fine line where people are a bit confused whether to put sexual needs in the basic needs or in the part where we are talking about love and needing belongingness. So
Right, there's like a lot of connection of romantic love to
Correct,
sex
correct.
in the society and even
Right.
in our minds. I think in general,
Yes.
I think probably coming from the society, something like a circle. So we don't actually, I mean, this was news to me too, that it's a basic need.
Yes,
I always
absolutely.
equated it to, okay, your basic needs is roti, kapda, makan,
Yes,
right?
right.
And then you move on, okay,
Correct.
now I can look for love, now I can look for
Yes,
sex. I
right.
think this is how Indian society
Has been viewing.
currently been viewing sex.
So parents, if they understand whether it is their own need or whether it is the need of their children, it is something very basic and very okay to accept, because it is right there. It is like it's the formation of who we are.
Yeah, I think this was pretty enlightening to understand, because yes, I can see that coming from, like, so I come from a joint family. Like,
Okay.
I come from a nuclear family, but I am in a joint family
Okay.
after marriage, and we are 7 people, and there's a
Okay.
lot of people in the family, right?
Right.
So sex is really not something that is considered basic or essential, although there is a lot of privacy given to every couple in a family. I think that is something that we should really aspire for. I really think that my parents-in-law have created a space where there is a lot of privacy allowed. Although, of course, it's not talked about
Correct.
as such, because it would be considered inappropriate in front of the child.
Right.
But there's a lot of privacy given. There's a lot of unheard, unspoken, not unheard. There's a lot of unspoken understanding that, okay, they need their time, they're young, they're reproductively aged. And also, we have an understanding that even if they are 60 plus, they have sexual needs.
Absolutely.
They have sexual needs. We can't be just dumping our child on them every night.
Right.
It's a responsibility. It's a joint responsibility.
Absolutely.
But I do agree with you, because from the family point of view, I've really felt this, that yes, if your sexual needs are not met in the right way, in a healthy way, that really shows up
Yes. Absolutely.
as some sort of an as some sort of a missing in your general life. Like, you won't be able to show up completely as yourself if that is something that you continuously seek out
Correct.
and you're
So
not fulfilled.
How would you feel if you don't get food or water, or you're not sleeping adequately?
Yeah.
It's quite similar. The only thing is we need sleep every we need sleep 8 hours every 24 hours. We need food every few hours. We need to have four meals, 5 meals a day.
Right.
We need water 2 to 3 liters. So these are all very substantial or standardized things that we are told to be followed.
True,
But unfortunately, sex is something that there is no rules, or there is no set foundation or something, or when we should start or when we should end or how many times, and that's why probably it makes it a bit vague a concept to understand for people.
So, considering, I think, the fact that we ourselves are struggling with the fact that, okay, sex is a basic need. Now there's also another follow-up question to this, right? That I'm asking some questions from personal experience. It is a basic need, yes, but your need might not correlate with your companion's needs.
Yes,
and this is very, very true. So pre-pregnancy, pre-having a baby, when you're just married, there is very less issues. Normally, there are not many issues in terms of sexual desire from both parties. So I don't want to say male or female, because companions can be of any gender.
Yes.
So, but when you become a parent, regardless of whether you are the man or woman, there is a change. There's a lot of hormonal changes. His sexual desire one person's sexual desire might not match another's, especially the one who is more caregiving might have lower libido.
Possible.
Yes. So what do you really feel, what would be the guiding path when such things happen in terms of communicating, or because our society puts such a strong premium on sexual relationship, especially for men, especially for the male gender. Women are giving a little bit of a concession in terms of, okay, she's anyways going to have a lower desire after having a baby. That's understood. But for men, a lot of them do come up with low libido also later. So how do you think we could really address the mismatch between libido, between sexual desire? Sometimes there's stress, for one of the partners, and it could be any of the partners. How do we address this?
Okay, so acceptance and communication. These are the two rules that you can go by. Acceptance that sometimes, mood, sometimes the energy, the mental energy, sometimes hormones, all of these factors can always, incorporate into a decision that you might not want to, or might want to also, for that matter. So accepting the fact that your partner, because anyways, like, sex is a process where both the people must be involved mentally and physically, and many of what the things that you're talking about are more on a mental level.
Right. Yeah.
Stress being one of the reasons. Sometimes, timings don't match as to, when either of the partners would come from work.
Yeah.
So accepting the fact that that there are days when you don't feel like, and that has got nothing to do with the part where you are in love or intimate, or that you trust or you believe in that person. Empathizing can be another way, by understanding that my partner's had a difficult day, so maybe, he or she needs that private space, that time, that me time for that person. And communication, of course, is instead of just either partner saying that, I'm tired and not
I'm
in
not
the
in the
mood.
mood. Not
Yeah,
in the
so
mood. Right.
instead of using that line,
Yeah.
not in the mood, it's better to communicate, whether it is the mental energy or the physically, as if you are drained out. What
Yeah.
is the reason?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
communication can play a big role.
Yeah, I think you've really put it beautifully, because while you were speaking, I was like connecting it to my experience, because my experience has been like what I know about in terms of communication, like, because I've been blessed with a partner who is good at being straight. He is very honest. But then, even if there's honesty, when it comes to sexual matters, it's not always that straightforward. So we have had to work on communication, despite being extremely verbose and communicative about all topics. Intimacy has been a different topic, addressing that, because I was dealing with a lot of shame, a lot of non-societal acceptance from childhood, other issues, complex trauma. I am a complex trauma survivor. So coming from that to communicating with my partner that, maybe I need my space, or sometimes I just have a higher libido because of some other issues, and he isn't very sure that he should be engaging in activities at that point of time. So I think over the years, we are now in our 9th year of being together, 8th year of marriage, and now I think it's more comfortable, because I think we have accepted each other that yes, we are growing, we are changing. We have had a daughter who's 7 now. I think our sexual activity is coming back to a point where it's more communication.
Yes.
Rather than just getting physical. I think this is something that the children see. I really feel that the child can make out how much love there is, not just love, how much respect and communication there is between partners. And I really, really feel that rather than advising our children, just showing them that we communicate so much.
Absolutely.
But related to intimacy, not related to intimacy. Of course, intimacy conversations are not happening in front of them.
Absolutely.
But in general, I just really felt like, yes, communication.
We need to understand that for anything, sex or anything, not all 365 days can be the same in terms of our mood, our energy, and our physical, power to do things. Whether it's work, there are days when we don't feel like going to work. There are days when we don't feel like eating. So why is, again, back to the thing that why is sex the taboo here?
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's from some sitcom or some series or something, where I read that how can you make love if you're not in love? So
I agree. I mean, everybody has a person who's, I agree. How can you make love if you're not in love? That's true. It would be a mechanical act at best.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thanks, Naomi. That was like a wonderful way of putting it. So we know that sex begins with communication, 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 and not just sex. Just the fact that we are living in a family unit, there are children involved, showing respect and communication and giving space to your partner are actually a lot of healthy attitudes that a child is inculcating without a single word being spoken,
Yes.
right? And I think that non-verbal consent, I would say non-verbal consent or non-verbal respect also matters a lot, because your body language and the way you are showing up for your partner, they really pick it up. And they're really respectful themselves when they pick it up. You can't actually advise them to be like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like right now we are at the topic of a family unit and how to address intimacy, how to address sex. Of course, you're not going to speak of sex per se to your pre-adolescent kids, but definitely there will be questions about the body.
Yes.
They will start having questions. My kid asked the first question when she was 4.
Okay.
And I was not prepared for that. I was not prepared for that. So, what do you think? What time should these conversations start? In terms of, I think around 3 to 6 is the age group. And then around 7 to 10, pre-pubertal, pre-adolescent is one age group. And then the 10 to 14 category, right? And then the teenage.
Right.
So if you could be kind enough to give us some suggestions as to how to really educate our children from the 3 to 6 category.
Right. So 3 to 6 is a category where the kids are actually just inquisitive. It's not really that they want to know about sex or specifically about body parts or anything around it. They're just very inquisitive, because we have to understand that biologically it is the time when their brain is they are completely, they are on a full speed to development. So they are always, power packed with such questions that you might not even have answers to. So we must, again, communication, to address these questions correctly, not to ignore them, because that can lead to them feeling neglected. That can make them feel that what they're asking is they're not supposed to ask these questions, or they are supposed to figure out on their own, because parents are the people whom they would come to with these questions. So what we can do is we can start with explaining the concept of milestones to them. Milestones, which are any development progresses that a child makes from the moment he or she is born.
True.
So the very first milestone that he or she achieves is being able to take the feed, the mother's milk that he or she sucks. So that is the very first thing that they learn, or probably we don't even teach them.
Right.
They achieve it right
on
the
their
moment.
own.
Yes. So we can explain to them that walking or starting to talk, starting to go to school, these are all milestones. But as you grow up, these milestones change. They can be physiological, where we are talking about development of body parts or changes in body parts, whether it is the voice, whether it is development of the private parts. So we can tell them that these are milestones, just like walking, just like you started talking. This is a natural part of growing up.
Right.
While they grow up, we can then further on explain them that when you do turn into an adult, the milestone changes into your first job or marriage. And in between, we talk about the importance of sex also, because that is also a milestone. It's the milestone of achieving that you have urges, or just accepting that you have urges in you. There are also psychological milestones, that is formation of personality. Now personality is something that is only formed when you are an adult, an adolescent to adulthood. It is the time when you have preferences, you have thoughts, opinions, and you know what you're doing, you know what you're liking. So now this preference can also be for gender or sexuality, and to accept that, one needs to be aware of it.
Yeah.
So letting them know that this is also a sort of milestone. It's not visible as it was when you started walking. Even for parents, it's quite visible to see them just get up and start walking, but these are not very visible milestones. So maybe we can start off with explaining this concept, and then continue our
And
conversation
then,
around.
allow them to explore
Right.
as they want.
Right.
I resonate with this point that also the parents need to have explored their own sexuality,
Right.
and explore their own orientation or their own whatever they like, for them to actually guide their kids.
Correct.
And I think there is a bit of a mismatch sometimes, because the parents themselves have not had the opportunity
Correct.
to have really explored their
Yes.
spectrum.
And we also need to understand that milestones are not same for everyone. While you started walking at 11 months, your child might have done it earlier or later.
Right.
We also need to incorporate that genetics or just environmental changes, the availability of information, and all these things are contributing to changes that are going around. So not all milestones can be same, neither can be the same for even a parent and a child. So similarly, even for a sexual preference or the desire or the urge to say practice sex or engage in masturbation, it would differ. So you cannot expect that you're 18, so you must, it might happen before, it might happen later. So just acceptance of the fact that it can differ from person to person also is a way to let them know that it's okay to wait. It's okay if it's
okay
early.
Yes,
It's
okay
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. I think that's something that I think that mismatch has always been there between peer pressure and wanting to wait. I think I have felt it personally too, because I developed pretty early, and I have that male attention very, very early in life, but I always was very emotional and very I always wanted to feel a connection with somebody before I could even think in a romantic fashion. So definitely there is also this peer pressure, because probably if your parents or your family doesn't talk to you about these issues, you go to your peers, right? You are going to seek information regardless of where it comes from. So if you don't find a safe space, you're going to go and get another safe space. You're going to create your own, and it might not be as safe as we think, especially when we are adolescents or young. I have been very, very grateful and lucky that I never was in an unsafe space. I always had great friends, always had friends who looked at us as people first, and not as sexual objects. And I think that's very important when you're developing. And somehow I don't know, I don't want to be judgmental, but I've seen a lot of overtly sexual behavior in very young adults, very, very young, like teenagers. And somehow I feel that there has been, yes, maybe there's a change in milestones, maybe there's a change in society, but to look at each other just as sexual objects at an age where we are very, very tender, you're just developing your sexual desire, or you're just developing your orientation, is a bit skewed, And I don't want to say that I want to protect my child from that, but I do.
Right.
I don't want to say it, but I do. So as a parent, the mother tigress will come out and no, my child is gonna develop, in a better way. But I truly agree with the fact that we should be discussing milestones with them.
Yes.
We should be talking to them. We should be giving them a safe space,
Yes.
so that they are not going out looking for a safe space, not going to porn, not going to internet, because porn can be very, very damaging. People have neutral thoughts about porn, but porn actually, a lot of psychologists, like you say, can be very, very damaging to relationships and even to a young developing brain. So yeah, I think just to protect our children from porn, yes, we should be creating the safe space to talk about sex and intimacy. I definitely think your theory is matching my experience, and I like how it's making things clearer, because as a psychologist, it's only you who can really tell us what is the basic theories and what really works, what is the science behind it. So when we are talking about sex, right? Considering that now our kids have grown up a bit, now they have reached post-adolescence, and this is really the time where we want to be talking to them,
Right.
so that they have a better source of information than what is out there. Maybe the internet, maybe their friends, who may or may not be the right people to speak about these issues. So how can we really have an open dialogue? Because there's going to be a lot of, it's not going to be comfortable in the beginning to talk to your child, who you still see as a child,
Right.
instead of a person who has their own sexual thoughts, because it's very difficult for parents to really move to that stage. We always look at them as, oh, I'm my little princess or my little prince. And then you have to now talk to them about sex or intimacy, and how to really have that open dialogue. What kind of pre-preparation can parents do, and how to really go through it so that children have the right space.
Right. So firstly, we must not do this at the very wrong timing. So there might be a scene where you might find a pack of condoms in your son's bag, or you might, get some hints. You might find them at the very wrong timing, and so it's one should not, as a parent, bring in that talk at that very moment, because the child is already embarrassed, or is not sure how you would react, or as a parent how the parent would react in that situation. So it should not be a damage control. It should be a talk separately, where we are discussing maybe about future, career, marriage. It's just like any other conversation similar to that. So when you are deciding on, you feel that this is the time where you would want to have this conversation, think of something that would make it a bit lighter, make it more approachable. So one way you can do that is you can probably watch a movie where there might be an intimate scene, so you can see how comfortable the child is in the presence of parents, as well as that scene being played, because as a child, as a parent, you often you would want to change the channel immediately. So maybe we don't need to do that now. We can use this to see their reactions and have a conversation about what do you feel about this scene, or do you think that it's time for you to have a companion in your life, have somebody similar to the scene that you're watching. Other way that you can do that is, there is always a chapter in the Indian CBSE or any curriculum that they follow, where in 9th or 10th grade they do have a chapter on reproduction. So you can just take that as an opportunity. It would also help you stay connected with their studies, as well as use that to communicate. Tell them that this is a chapter, it's education basically. So it's time that as a parent, instead of letting a tuition teacher or any other teacher do that, you can probably take that as an opportunity. It is also important to for both parents, if possible, to have this conversation, because often what happens is either the mother will talk to the doctor and the father will talk to the son, but it is very important for both parents to sit together, because to understand the viewpoint or the thought process of both genders is very important. So for a boy to know how a girl likes things, or how are the girls private parts or what
Right,
exactly
yeah.
has to be done is an educative, session itself, which a mother can, obviously, if not a mother, who will? And therefore, when this awareness or this knowledge is not given to them, it often leads to, them not being confident, or them being, not understanding enough towards the opposite gender. Stands for both, even the girl for that matter, who might not know how things are to be done. And usually girls are, they often this, they feel ashamed, or they feel that they're not aware of what is going on. So if both the parents are available, it helps. A big no-no is to stop using incorrect or childish names for private parts.
Yeah.
You do that when you're when they are
Small,
yes,
yeah,
7,
true,
8,
true,
10.
true.
So it's proper if you use the right terminology. They are almost adults.
Yeah.
They understand by
I
now.
think we can
Yes.
say it on camera so that
Right,
people
yeah,
know that
yeah.
it's not
So
something that is, it's not a dirty word.
exactly.
It's a scientific term.
Exactly.
So penis
Yes.
is a scientific term.
Exactly.
Vagina is a scientific term.
Exactly.
And vagina and vulva are different.
Right.
They are not the same
Absolutely.
thing.
So to let them know that that these
And
are
this is okay. This
absolutely,
is okay. It's
absolutely.
Not it's nothing. There's nothing dirty or there's nothing inappropriate about using the scientific term for your private parts.
right.
Right now, we just call them private parts. Like my daughter is 7, and we just say private parts.
Exactly.
We are
Right.
like, we are not supposed to. One thing that I feel we do right now, she's at a stage where she understands that there's a difference between the boy's body and the girl's body, because we explained it to her on the reproduction, like not the reproduction chapter, but in general.
Body
we just
parts.
told her
Right.
it's different. You look different. They look different. And then her, another question was, Mama, why do you have this?
Right.
Why I don't have it, right? So I'm like, beta, because I had to feed you as a mother. I had to provide you milk. The way cow provides milk to the calf. And then I showed her the video of a cow feeding her calf.
Right.
So you can always, I feel, use representative images
Exactly.
so that it's not inappropriate, because you don't want to be bearing your body to your children. And then also coming to the point, we have tried to tell her that nobody is allowed to be naked
Right.
in the family in front of everybody. So even the father wears a shirt at all times. So I think there is a lot of dichotomy there, because in a lot of Indian households, the men are top naked. Honestly, they are top naked, and women are not supposed to be. And then the girl sees it,
Right.
or the boy sees it, and they internalize it. So we have made it a point that nobody is supposed to be naked. If one gender is not allowed to be, another gender is not allowed to be. If one gender is allowed to be, another gender is allowed to be, which would be inappropriate.
Right.
So I think these are the two things we felt really helped her. And also, I agree, if we are having a conversation, it should be both parents. She should not just feel comfortable coming to me.
Exactly.
She came to me the first time. She felt something different at the age of 6. I addressed the issue, and I also told the father about it. I also told my partner about it, that this is what our child is going through. If she comes to you, first of all, encourage her to come to any of your parents.
Exactly.
Don't go to your grandparents. They are not prepared for it. We are a little bit prepared for it. So we have been reading the Yellow Book by Tarshi, NGO. So the Yellow Book is for how to educate your children about their body.
Okay.
And then age-wise, you go on. So at least we know a little bit theoretically what you should avoid and what you should say. And you made it very clear for us what we should be talking about. We should be talking about the milestones, and this is another milestone.
Right.
Don't treat it as a separate conversation.
Exactly.
Treat it as something that is a part of you, so that
Yes.
they don't create that dichotomy
Yes.
that sex is very different than the rest of us. You know?
You can also use pregnancy as an opportunity to start a conversation. Like, if there's somebody who's pregnant or has a child, you can ask the child that, do you know how and what the process is, where it starts and how it eventually leads. Because especially for boys who don't even know that, how what exactly even happens. That there are two different forms of delivering a baby.
Yeah.
So that can also be a conversation starter, and you can take the whole conversation there.
I think it has to be about our open attitude in terms of addressing the fact that yes, our children are going to have questions.
Yes.
And once they have that question, not to shy away from answering or tell them, oh, you can't ask this. And just addressing, okay, you asked us this question, we can answer this part of it. This part I'm going to answer when you're 12.
Right.
And I've actually said that a lot. Arya, you're not ready for this part of the question.
Right.
So I'm going to answer this part of the question. The other part, I will come to it.
Yes.
It's not like I'm not going to say no.
Yes.
And she agrees to it. She's like, okay, fine. As long as she feels heard, as long as they feel heard,
Right.
that yes, we are actually listening.
Yes.
I think they don't have those developmental issues. Something like arrested development, like, okay, this was never answered.
Right.
I'm not ever going to ask this question.
You can also assure them that it's not that we are wanting to know about their personal or private lives or their, what is going on, who are they going around with. Yes, of course, as parents, you would want to know that, but
yeah, we would want our children to tell on their own
on
accord
their
rather
own,
than
yes.
probing.
But when they are in their, they've reached adulthood or they're almost, 16, 17, it's okay for them to make a preference. Of course, if they come and introduce you or tell, fine. You're not literally asking what sex position are you
Right,
into.
you're just asking
if all is well, if you know about what you are doing and if you're practicing it in a safe way. That is what, as parents, we should be knowing about.
Yeah, we should be.
In fact, we should also consider that we should also not be very cool about it, in the sense, too much information is also...
I agree. Would probably be not healthy for the child or for the parent. Too much information would not be healthy. I think there is something about healthy boundaries.
Right.
In terms of human sex, and I think it's very nice that you brought up boundaries, because what happens is sometimes you think that, okay, that's my child, I'm going to make sure everything's right for them, but you don't know what's right for them. Not always.
Right.
All you can do is basically, I thought that, okay, maybe when she grows up, she introduces her boyfriend or whatever, girlfriend, I don't care. She introduces a companion. My role or our role, me and Pradeep, as parents, would be to just see whether she's in an unhealthy relationship.
Right.
That would basically be it. We don't want her to fall into an unhealthy relationship because she's still developing, It would affect her development. Not because we want to control her sexual desire, we want to control who she's with. We just want to see whether she's falling into unhealthy patterns.
Yes.
And intervene because we are close to her.
Right.
And we could see what happens when we fall, because we have had unhealthy patterns before, right? Everybody does.
Yes.
And that's where I think we would end it, because I don't know. Do you think that's fine? Or
see, even when we are with our friends or cousins or anyone, we are not usually talking about our sexual preferences or what and how and what is going on in our bedrooms.
Yeah.
So similarly, with our parents also, it's okay to communicate. It's good to let them know about the whereabouts or what is happening in our life, what our preferences are in general for the gender or in that sense.
Exactly.
But as I said, maybe the child is not even interested or isn't even seeking that sexual intimacy in a partner. So, why even that can also burden them that, as at this age, should we be having a companion? Should we be, engaging in this form? So, not go overboards also.
Right.
Balance is the key to.
I think when we feel they're interested and when they actually come to us, unless and until we see signs that something's really wrong. And if you know your child, you would see those signs. If you are neglecting your child, you're not around, definitely you're not going to see that.
Yes.
But if you are at least in touch with your child, then I think we could pick up on
Yes.
unhealthy patterns.
Absolutely.
And I also think that a psychologist is a very good and important support system that a family needs. I mean, I'm very honest about it because I feel I feel that we might know a lot of things, but in a family dynamic, especially for training family units to really talk about sex, I think psychologists like you come in and really educate and enlighten people about how they should be, approaching it. Okay, we have spoken so much about how to deal with sex and intimacy as parents after parenthood, how to educate our children about it from our small family unit or large family unit if it's a joint family. Now I want to address what goes on outside.
Right.
So, of course, we are not the only deciding influencers in our children's life. It's peers, it's media, and it's whatever they are consuming from outside. So, how should we really help them foster healthy messages from these outside sources?
Okay. The first key is that you should not only just take but also give. Always expecting them to come up with information or expecting them to tell you about everything might only happen if you give them something. So probably talking about how things were at their time, how peer pressure acted with them would help them understand that this is even a phenomena that can affect them, that can influence them. So start with giving information so that you can understand where this particular behavior or this thought process is actually coming from. So when we talk about sorry, we'll just so the role of parents should be for giving knowledge, for raising awareness, and not about taking decisions on their behalf. So when parents feel that their children are on Instagram or watching pornography, just cut their internet off is not really a solution. It's like you're taking decisions for an adult. They might be actually reading about sexual awareness rather than often you would see some video or something, and there are influencers, there are people who actually give a positive feedback, or they help people with understanding themselves, their bodies, on how to maintain hygiene. All these aspects are also covered. So instead of taking decisions, it is important to first understand and to raise awareness about what is happening to them. As a psychologist, there is a theory which is the social learning theory, or we also call it imitation learning or modeling, wherein we imitate people around us, or can be parents, can be friends, and we start following that behavior. As something as basic as as you play ghar ghar or kitchen that thing is where it comes from, is we see our parents doing that. So to make sure that this behavior, whether it's early masturbation, whether it is the thought of indulging in a sexual practice, can come from that aspect as well.
So today we have learned a lot from Naomi. She talked to us about the Maslow's theory. She talked to us about the social learning theory, about how we can really address our children, how we can address issues between us as a couple, and how to really have a conversation in the family unit about intimacy, about sex, about bodies, understanding your body. So now I think we have also addressed that media and peer pressure plays a large role, and how to really not control our children, but to foster healthy communication.
Correct.
But then, Naomi, I always feel that that right background or the right functional family is required to do these things. And although I am grateful to belong to one, I think a lot of children and a lot of couples are living in non-functional or dysfunctional units, and they would need advice that is a little bit more different, little bit more individualized to them. So how can we address that? How can they seek help?
Right. So as we discussed in the start that sex or need for intimacy is a very basic need. Just like we have emotions, we have thought processes, we have the need to just fulfill certain things in our life. Similarly, we need to accept for the child also that they would develop such needs at some point. So understanding that, empathizing with them, because in adolescence already there is a lot of confusion and frustration and conflicts that are happening. So as parents who are supposed to be caregivers, who are supposed to protect and provide a safe and secure environment to the children, what we can do is also understand this aspect of an individual, a human being. It is what we are made up of. So understanding that, being sensitive about it, being empathetic about it, because you would as a parent also have been in that age. But now I understand that there is a responsibility of a person. There is there's a lot that you want to give, good learnings and everything. You want to give the best. So I understand that comes in, but understanding that even you were at that age where you had those needs, it's okay to have them. And if for some reason parents are not available or are not in that frame of mind, or just because of as you said, there are dysfunctional families, you can always seek professional help. You can opt for family therapy. You can go visit medical practitioners. You can go to a gynecologist, you can go to a urologist, or just simply start with everybody getting together and having one psychologist take care of understanding the needs and the thought process of everyone around. So we can start with that probably.
So family therapy, I think very few people are really aware that even exists, and that clinical psychologist could really be your support system and your support medical system. In fact, they're as important as a gynecologist or urologist, as important for having a very healthy relationship within the unit, within the family unit, so that you show up as your authentic selves to the outside world. And thank you, Naomi, for educating us and enlightening us about these points. And thank you for answering all these questions with such clarity. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity. It was, in fact, even an introspection for me to, understand and be aware, because I would also at some point be entering a family, a life, a marriage, have a child. Right. So this helped me to take a moment and understand of what might be coming in the future for me as well.
That's so lovely. Every time we speak to another human being, sometimes we don't realize that we are all evolving. Yes. And at every conversation we are evolving. We are not static beings. So when we speak to somebody, they are evolving with you, they are understanding with you, and you are learning at the same time. So thank you so much, Naomi, for doing this with us, and thank you for this lovely conversation. Please tell our audience where they can follow you on social media.
Okay, so you can follow me on naomi.psychologist on Instagram. I have all mental health updates and everything about psychology posting up there.
Alright, so please follow her at naomi.psychologist on Instagram. And we are here talking at Cafe Anecdote, which is in Thane, Vasant Vihar, and they have been lovely hosts to us. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.